A programmer recently asked me how he could switch to cybersecurity jobs. And we had a very interesting conversation, and I'd like to share some of the thoughts that I gave him with you as well. Welcome back to Think Design Work Smart. I'm Alex Bolboaca, and I'm coming at you from the Mozaic Works studios. And today I want to talk about switching jobs. I think this is timely. This is the first video that I'm recording in 2026. The others until now were pre-scheduled, pre-recorded, and really there are many things we don't know about this year, but I think one thing is becoming increasingly clear. 2026 is a year of change. We have all kinds of geopolitical changes. I won't insist on them. You all saw the news. We have a lot of turmoil in markets. Things are restructuring, reorganizing, and we have AI coming and increasing in effectiveness and in the way it can help and in the ways it can help with software development. So I think it's safe to say that we are in for a lot of change this year and in the years to come. So if AI is doing more and more developer job, there are a few things that could happen. One of them is, as many people predict, that there will be a lot more projects and a lot more jobs around the AI, jobs that do not exist today. And that's definitely possible, but we'll have to see. Another thing that I think we can be pretty certain about is that there will be a shift from jobs in programming to jobs related to more like thinking and ingenuity. And two such important jobs are software architecture and cybersecurity. So if you want, we can discuss this later on in this year or in the next years, but my feeling and my prediction is that we'll see a shift from programming to architecture and cybersecurity. At least in the short term, it may become more and more a trend for more programmers wanting to go in this direction. And there are reasons to do that. These are still technical jobs. They can build up on the skills that you have. And they require other types of skills and skills that are more difficult to replace with AI. And also for cybersecurity, at least, there's a growing demand, especially with more AI, you get more threats. So there's a lot to be said about these shifts, but we'll discuss some more about industry shifts in a future video. This is just to set the context. I believe this is a timely topic. I believe this is a topic that will be interesting not only today, but also in the years to come. Now, when most people think about switching jobs, you may be scared, you may be, maybe you feel like you don't have the time, you don't have the resources, maybe you don't know exactly what to do in that new job and so on. So let me address a few of these things, because I've had my fair share of switching jobs in software development. I've been a programmer, I've been senior programmer, software architect. I've been a project manager for a few months, didn't like it. I've been doing infrastructure and trainings and community events and talking, public speaking and writing. And so it's fair to say that I've done a lot of different things related to software development. So I know a little thing about switching jobs. I've also been very interested about cybersecurity, by the way. And as a programmer, I learned a lot about cybersecurity before it was an interesting job as it is today, the boom that it is today. So let me give you today a few ideas. This is not a perfect framework, but these are a few ideas on how you can proceed. Ideas that are extremely effective, but that few people actually do. And if you do them, I believe you may find that you have a lot more success and with a lot less effort. Now, let me just start with one that is very common. I'm going to talk about it. Most people, when they switch jobs, the first thought is, what is a certification I can get? Where can I get the training? And yes, you can get trainings on software architecture, or cybersecurity. You can get certifications, particularly for cybersecurity. There are a lot of different certifications, many of them internationally recognized. So you can definitely find these types of tools at your disposal. But those are good when you want to prove to an employee, to an employer, that you have the skills. Or when your employer wants to sell to specific customers that ask for these certifications. And fair enough, this happens. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you will learn the job by doing certifications. You can definitely go through trainings. Now, most trainings, what they will do is they will give you theoretical information. They will give you some ways to practice, hopefully. This is more likely for cybersecurity than for architecture. But they won't necessarily teach you how to do the job. And this is the trap that I feel people fall into when they want to switch jobs and they jump into training, certification, and so on. They are useful for getting hired, not necessarily useful for learning how to do the job. And by the way, I have to mention that the goal of our learning programs in Mozaic Works is when you leave the learning program, you can actually do the job a little bit better, or a lot better, ideally. You live with practices that you've applied in a context where you've learned, you've discussed, you've challenged, and then you can take them to production and actually apply them after you end the learning program. But this is what we aim for. Most trainings aren't built like that. Most certification programs aren't built like that. So get certified, definitely an option, definitely one way to switch, but it's expensive, it's time consuming, requires a lot of learning usually, a lot of investment, and it only works if you want to prove to a potential employer. So let me give you other options which are less investment and more effective. First is make a friend. Make a friend from the domain that you are interested in. If you are working in a large company, chances are you have architects. You have a team of security experts. Make a friend from those teams. Take them out to lunch and ask them a few questions. Ask them about themselves. This is an important part. Don't ask them how you could become like them, but ask them to tell you their story. And their story would be, okay, how did you start in this job? How did you decide to get into this domain? How does your day look like? What are you doing throughout the day? What are the things that are annoying you in the job? What are the parts that you love about the job? And so on. And if you ask people these types of questions, people like to talk about themselves. So this is really a useful way to get information, and you'll find out the realities of the job. What it means, what you need to do, and you'll figure out what are the things that you already know how to do, what are the things that you imagine and that you could learn, what are the things that you didn't know and that you could learn to do. And then you can go in a much more specific way on those things, those pointed, specific activities, and those we'll discuss, but you can practice. You can figure them out. You can find books, you can find videos. There are a lot of training opportunities nowadays, and you don't have to go to a full certification program to get there. Second option, attend a conference where that is on the domain that you are interested in. So for example, attend a cybersecurity conference. But, and this is the important part, many people go to conferences and sit and listen to talks. Fair enough, if that's what you want. But the real interesting part of the conference is the whole session. The whole session is where people gather and have informal conversations about their jobs, about what they do, about their challenges. And you can either sit in some of these conversations because they happen naturally. You can try to get to speakers and ask them similar questions or questions inspired by their talks if you saw their talks. Tell them a little bit about yourself. Look, I'm a programmer. I want to switch to that. I'm considering switching. And one thing I'm thinking about is X. And then try to have open questions and get a reaction. Or just ask them openly about, how did you start doing this job and what do you like? The same set of questions that we discussed before. The whole session is the most important part of any conference, and this is the thing that's missing in online conferences, which means, yes, you'll actually have to buy a ticket, maybe pay for it yourself if you can convince your organization to pay for it, although you might. Physically get there and make this effort to reach out to people, to sit with people, to talk to them. Try to get to sit next to them at lunch, or whoever you are sitting next to at lunch. Ask these questions as well. Be open and try to learn as much as possible about the job. And the thing about this is that it's not something that gives 100% results, right? Success. But you never know where the opportunity might come. You might learn about specific job opportunities. You might impress somebody. You might make friends. Who knows, you know? And then often at conferences, there are social events, usually in the evening. Attend those events and make sure to sit down, ideally with people you don't know, ask them, listen to them, be there, be present. And who knows, you'll make up some friends, and then you'll be able to learn or some connections, and then you'll be able to ask them on social media, on email, and have some continuing conversations about the things that are interesting to you. And remember, people like to talk. I mean, if a speaker prepare the talk about a specific topic, it's likely that they will like to discuss about it some more because they invested a lot of time into it. So if you ask them about things from their talk, things that captured your attention, or from the abstract, you don't have to actually watch the talk, but from the abstract, then you can learn a lot more about the job, and that's useful. You can get resources, you can get all kinds of things. So this is the second one, whole session, very important. Third one, do the job. Do the job. You are part of a development team. It's likely that there has to be some kind of architecture work, there has to be some kind of security work. Volunteer to do that part of the work. Or if you don't do it, let's say somebody else writes diagrams and architecture decision records and so on. Review those and ask questions. Go to the person who drew that and start asking, okay, so I noticed this and that. How does this link to that, and so on. Do a threat model. Do code reviews for security. Do a small penetration testing session. Whatever you are interested in, right? Do the job. If there are things that you cannot do reliably, like maybe you want to switch from programming to malware analysis, okay, that's a completely different thing that might require debugging and decompilation and so on. So then you'll need to practice outside of your job, but you'll still be doing the job. So learn how you can set up a safe environment for you to take a malware and analyze it and see what conclusions you come to. How do you feel about this activity? Is this something that you'd like to do 8 hours a day or not? So do the job. It's even better if you manage to practice with other people. So maybe you find a group of people in your organization, a group of programmers who's interested in architecture, a group of programmers who are interested in cybersecurity, and get together and do these practice sessions. And talking about practice, There's another thing that you can do, which is practice, find your community, practice in a community. Nowadays, there are communities everywhere on a lot of different topics. Some of them are online, some of them are mixed. You can find interested people in all kinds of things if you are searching a little bit. So finding a community and then attending that community. Maybe they have periodic meetings where you can get together and practice. Maybe they have like a forum or a place where you can ask for suggestions or what you can practice, what you can do. So this is yet another option for you to do this. And if you do all these things, make a friend, attend the whole session, practice in a community, do the job. If you like all these things, then you have two options. One option is that your work will start to be noticed in your organization. Let's say maybe you are not doing security work for your organization, but you're doing it for an open source project. Maybe you found an open source project that you like and you do security work for that, or you do architecture work for that. And then you share with your colleagues what you did. You talk a little bit about it. People find out, maybe your managers will find out, and when the need comes, and the need will most likely come for more architecture work, for more security work, they say, oh, he or she already did that. So let's take a chance, because they have the experience. And then if you really want to, after all this, you could even get certified following all these steps, because now if you have these if people know that you can do the job, the next step is just to certify it officially, let's say, so that other people know, right? But be aware, certification most likely is for getting hired, or when organizations need to sell your services to people who require those certifications. But these are things that I've done again and again and again, and they have helped me tremendously for every small step I took. I wanted to do public speaking. I did the job. I started public speaking where? In a community, because I needed a friendly audience. And when I felt confident enough, then I moved to bigger and bigger stages, until I did a keynote with 300 people, or I think it was 500 people in Istanbul. With writing, okay, I've been writing for a long time, since I was a kid, and I had the practice of writing, but I never wrote a book until I actually sat down and wrote one. And then I got more and more confident that I could do that. With a lot of the technical topics and practices, I learned the most in a whole session, or with friends that I made along the way, or with people who are interested in the same ideas. So these practices, these options that I'm giving you, are proven based on my experience. They are extremely effective. And as you can see, they don't require as much change, as much investment, as much money as a complete overnight, I say overnight, quoting marks, in shift towards a completely new job. It's just what you need to do, or what you can do with little investment but with high reward. So I hope this helps. And let me know in the comments if you have other ways of doing that, other ways. How did you switch your job? How do you plan to switch your job, and how? Let us know in the comments. Thank you kindly for the view, and until next time, remember to think, design, and work smart. See you next Saturday.